Just a few years ago, Europe was the most welcoming place on earth for American tourists. In 2024, nearly 18 million Americans crossed the Atlantic, a record high. Paris cafés, Italian piazzas, Spanish beaches, they were full of U.S. visitors living the dream. But fast forward to 2025, and the mood has shifted. France has seen a sharp drop in American bookings. Spain's streets are filled with anti-tourism protests. Italy is charging entry fees just to walk through Venice. And in country after country, the American tourist is no longer seen as a prized guest, but as part of the problem. Taxes are rising, restrictions are spreading, and resentment is building. And while everyone is being hit, U.S. travelers are often the ones standing out the most, louder, more visible, and politically controversial. So why is Europe suddenly turning its back on Americans? And which countries are leading the pushback? If stories like this matter to you, tap like and subscribe. It helps this video reach more travelers who need to hear it. Now let's get started. Number 1. France. France has always been the crown jewel of American tourism. Paris consistently draws more U.S. visitors than any other city in Europe. But in 2025, that welcome feels far colder. The change isn't just about tourism, it's political. A recent poll found that 73% of French people no longer see the U.S. as an ally. That kind of mistrust is shaping public opinion, and it's beginning to trickle down to the way everyday Americans are perceived on the streets of Paris, Lyon, and Nice. And many U.S. travelers are already feeling it. In Paris, some now take steps to avoid standing out. One American couple visiting from Oregon told the BBC they felt embarrassed by U.S. politics. The husband went so far as to cover the stars and stripes on his baseball cap with black tape before walking through the Tuileries Gardens. His wife even carried a Canadian pin in her pocket just in case. They're not alone. Other Americans quietly admit they avoid political conversations altogether, worried that one wrong word could spark an uncomfortable exchange. France may still draw millions, but the warmth of that welcome is fading. A place once seen as the ultimate dream trip for Americans now comes with an undercurrent of unease, and that unease is only growing louder. And just to the south, in Spain, that quiet tension has already erupted into open protests. Number 2, Spain. Few countries feel the weight of American tourism like Spain. In 2024, more than 4.26 million U.S. visitors arrived, spending 9.1 billion euros. And while they weren't the largest group by headcount, a report from La Comunidad notes that Americans spend more per person than most other nationalities. Much of that goes into short, nightlife-heavy trips to Barcelona, Mallorca, and Ibiza, exactly the type of tourism that locals resent most. The backlash is no longer quiet. In Barcelona, protesters march with banners declaring "Tourists go home," while graffiti across buildings bluntly reads, "Tourists equals eviction." On the Balearic Islands, locals have even blasted visitors with water guns in a theatrical show of defiance. For many residents, the stereotype of the loud, high-spending American fuels the anger. Authorities have responded with higher costs. Tourist taxes on hotels and short-term rentals have climbed, in some regions doubling during peak season. Rules on noise, drinking, and overcrowding are being enforced more aggressively, reshaping the visitor experience. Spain's beaches may remain open, but the message is louder than ever. For Americans, the classic tapas and beach escape now comes with protests, surcharges, and the blunt reality of being seen as symbols of over-tourism. And just across the Mediterranean, Italy is going even further, rewriting the rules of who gets to enjoy its treasures. Number 3. Italy. For decades, Italy was the classic postcard destination for Americans. Venice gondolas, Roman ruins, Tuscan hills, it was the dream vacation. But in 2025, that dream is coming with a new price tag. Venice has become the symbol of the shift. Day trippers now face an entry fee of 5 to 10 euros just to set foot in the city, a jarring change for Americans used to wandering freely. And if you're arriving by cruise ship, forget it. Many of the massive liners that once carried U.S. tourists through the Venetian lagoon have been banned. Locals cheered the move, but for many Americans, it feels like the welcome mat has been pulled away. And it's not just Venice. In Rome and Florence, new fines punish tourists for climbing on fountains, damaging monuments, or even eating in restricted historic areas. American visitors, often among the most visible, are frequently the ones making headlines when rules are broken. Italy hasn't shut tourists out, but it has rewritten the terms of the visit. For U.S. travelers, the magic of gondolas and Roman ruins now comes with tickets, taxes, and the constant reminder that Italy's patience with mass tourism is running out. And if Italy's frustration is about protecting heritage, Germany's pushback cuts deeper, into politics and public opinion. Number 4. Germany. In Germany, the tension isn't about monuments or crowds, it's about what American tourists represent, and polls make that divide clear. A recent YouGov survey found only 32% of Germans have a favorable view of the United States, while a majority now see America in a negative light. In another poll, just 16% considered the U.S. a trustworthy partner, far lower than the ratings given to Canadians or Australians. Those numbers highlight how sharply Americans stand out. That skepticism shows up in everyday travel. Many U.S. visitors say conversations in Germany quickly turn political once their nationality is revealed. Trump's polarizing return, U.S. positions on Ukraine, and trade disputes often surface right away. Germans are among the most openly critical Europeans, and that tension can leave American travelers feeling uneasy. Germany hasn't turned hostile. Cities like Berlin and Munich still thrive on tourism, and Americans remain an important part of the mix. But the welcome feels distant. Where once U.S. visitors were seen as close allies, today they're more often viewed with suspicion, symbols of a superpower Germans no longer trust. And if politics shape perceptions here, the chill grows even sharper in Britain, where new rules and cultural clashes have left American tourists feeling truly out of place. Number 5. United Kingdom. Once America's closest ally, Britain in 2025 feels far less welcoming to U.S. tourists. Brexit has already made travel more complicated. Americans no longer benefit from seamless EU rules, and new electronic travel authorizations are being phased in, turning what was once an easy hop into paperwork and red tape. On the streets, the mood has shifted too. London has witnessed mass protests against U.S. foreign policy, from wars in the Middle East to trade disputes. These demonstrations aren't directed at tourists, but they reinforce a perception that America is no longer trusted, a sentiment visitors can feel when politics come up in casual conversation. Then there's the cultural friction. U.S. travelers often expect fast service, free refills, and generous tipping, habits that don't translate smoothly in Britain. Locals sometimes see American visitors as impatient or demanding, feeding the stereotype of the brash, entitled tourist. Even small missteps, like questioning service charges or complaining about portion sizes, can leave a lasting impression. The UK still attracts millions of Americans, but the warmth has cooled. What was once a guaranteed friendly stop now comes with more rules, more red tape, and far less of a welcome. And if Britain shows the cracks in culture and politics, Greece takes it even further, by limiting how many tourists can come at all. Number 6. Greece. Few places capture the American dream of Europe like Greece. Whitewashed houses on Santorini, sunsets over Mykonos, and ancient ruins in Athens. But in 2025, even paradise is pushing back. Tourism has soared to record highs, and nowhere feels the strain more than Santorini and Mykonos. Both islands, longtime favorites of U.S. cruise passengers, are now capping how many ships can dock each day. Officials argue the narrow streets and fragile infrastructure can't handle the crowds. For American travelers, that means stricter schedules, and sometimes being turned away altogether. On the mainland, frustration is rising too. Protests in Athens highlight the pressure tourism puts on housing, prices, and public services. Graffiti in tourist districts blames foreigners, and new restrictions are being considered at archaeological sites to control overcrowding. Greece still delivers some of the world's most iconic views. But the message is clear. The days of unchecked tourism are ending. Americans may still be welcome, but only on Greece's terms, with fewer ships, tighter rules, and a growing reminder that even paradise has limits. And while Greece sets boundaries on numbers, Smaller European countries from Denmark to Sweden are spreading the same message in their own way. Number 7. Wider Europe. The backlash against American tourists isn't just about crowds or cruise ships. Across Europe, it's increasingly about politics and how people see the United States itself. In Denmark, attitudes toward America have collapsed. Just 20% of Danes now hold a favorable view of the US, the lowest in Europe, while nearly 3/4 view it unfavorably. Trump's talk of tariffs, and even his suggestion of seizing Greenland, left a lasting scar. For American visitors in Copenhagen, that tension is never far beneath the surface. In Sweden, the mood is only slightly better. Polls show just 29% of Swedes have a positive view of the US, while 63% hold an unfavorable one. In Stockholm, Americans are less likely to be seen as curious guests and more as representatives of a country that many no longer trust. And in the Netherlands, skepticism runs just as deep. Only 20% of Dutch people believe America will have a positive influence on the world in 2025, one of the lowest figures anywhere. For Americans flocking to Amsterdam's canals and museums, the cool reception isn't about overtourism alone, but about how their country is perceived on the global stage. From Scandinavia to Western Europe, the message is unmistakable. The warmth that once greeted American travelers is fading fast, replaced by suspicion and political chill. Across Europe, the red carpet is gone. For American tourists, the welcome now feels colder than ever. The protests, the rules, the politics, all point to one truth. In 2025, U.S. travelers are no longer guaranteed a warm reception. Do you think Europe is being unfair to Americans, or is this backlash long overdue? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more global travel stories.